Thank you for your wonderful Don't Know talk. I hope you write that up. Really do. Do it soon while you still remember. Before you really don't know, right? But before I ask for questions, I would like to give a short talk about Zen Master Seung San, specifically the way he ended every ceremony that I remember attending. We'd have ceremonies 3 times a year: the Providence Zen Center, Buddha's birthday, Buddha's Enlightenment Day, and 1 or 2 precept ceremony every year. And at the end of every ceremony, when the candles had been extinguished, and walk back to the person who extinguished the candles would go sit down, he would stand and without any prelude chant the 4 Great Vows in Sino-Korean. And you can find these vows on page 24 of our chanting book, the chanting book that has the interlinear translation. Our chanting book.
Yeah, it's on the.
Yeah, they're on the back, and you can see the Chinese there. That might be an easier look.
Yeah, they have the interlinear there also.
Yeah, and the interlinear is there also. Thank you for pointing that out. So this is what we're looking at. And again, it's it is towards the end of the Thousand Eyes and Hands Sutra in one version, and then that's immediately followed, I did want to point that out, by the 6 Patriarchs' amendment of the 4 Great Vows. It's the same with just a little jasong, self-nature prelude. But let's look at the 4 Great Vows in the Sino-Korean. First, we'll just look at the word-for-word translation, and then practice chanting it the way Zen Master Seung San did. So, Jungsang, many beings. Mu, as you probably know, is no. Byon means number or count. And so on, both words mean vow. So it's sort of like vow, sort of like a dog's vow or something, I don't know. Do actually means save, translated as save, but it means to transport over, to ferry across, to ferry across. So what we're vowing here is to ferry across all beings, across the sea of suffering. So that's the do. And then bone, we now translate as anger and vexation. In the old days, we translated this by passions. Passions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. But then there was some objection. Someone thought, well, maybe we should be passionate about Zen practice. So kind of a different meaning of the word. But we changed it to anger. We changed it to delusions, finally. Literally, it's anger, vexation. And just as we changed a word in the Heart Sutra recently to delusions, we seem to be fond of that word. So we say delusions are endless, anger, vexation, and these represent, in Sanskrit, what are called the kleshas, all of the mental and psychological disturbances that cause us and other people endless suffering. So mujin, no end to that, but so on, vow, we vow to cut them off. We say cut through them all. And then bomun, bom, we know as bop, but the P becomes an M before the following M. Dharma, gates, no limit. We vow, so on, learn, to learn them all. And this means the teachings, but you can interpret Dharma gates as wider than the teachings. A Dharma gate is any experience that you have and you have to pass through it. It's a gate to some understanding. That's another way of looking at Bomon, Dharma gates. And finally, Buldo, Bo is Buddha, and Do is Tao, way. So the Buddha way. Musang, no above, there's nothing higher. So on, song, we vow to attain it. So this is how Zen Master Seung San would chant the Four Great Vows. And I'll do it maybe solo at first, and let's do it together for several times and maybe attain it. So, Jung Se Mu Byan So Do Bone Jin Soandan Bomun Muriang Soan Hak Multo Musang Soan Sang. So join in, please. Jung Se Bomun Muriang Soan Hak Bulto Musang Soan Sang. Jung Se Bomun Muriang Soan Hak Bulto Musang Soan Sang. Let's do the last two lines again. The melody is different. Bomun Muriang Soan Hak Bulto Musang Soan Sang. And once more, all the way through. Jung Se Bomun Muriang Soan Hak Bulto Musang Soan Sang. So I started doing this at the end of our ceremonies spontaneously a number of years ago. And then after a while, we actually added it, I remember, to the document. And everyone would chant it together. And I'd like to reinstitute that practice if it's okay with our guiding teacher.
If we ever have a ceremony again.
I think we'll have another ceremony soon. I was very much taken by Zen Master Seung San, and that's actually my strongest and favorite memory of him. His chanting, the Four Great Vows in Sino-Korean. The Four Great Vows in Chinese go back to the early Tang Dynasty, say in the 600s, and there's evidence that all of the Sanskrit sutras were translated into Chinese around then. They are all brought to China. And so there is evidence of some Sanskrit version that pre-existed it, but scholars can't quite agree on what it was or if it really existed. So it goes back very far, at any rate, in our practice. So thank you for participating. So now, are there any questions? We can always chant again if you want. Yes. Is that Mike?
Yeah.
You're going to have a bodhisattva question. But yeah, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah. Since you were chanting, I seem to remember hearing something about the origins of the rhythm of the chants, and it being compared to this sense that like a fish swimming upstream, the driving force of the chant. I don't know where I heard that, whether you said that or somebody else said that.
No, I never said that. I've never heard that. It's a nice image.
About that?
Swimming upstream against the driving force of the current.
Right.
So you really force it out. Yeah, maybe there's something to that. I really don't know. I've never heard that. Has anyone else ever heard that? Okay, we're batting about 0 for 20 here.
Okay,
Except for you, so thank you. Are there any other questions?
Carol had a question. She raised her hand. Someone else has got a hand raised, but I can't see it.
Just belt out the question if you have one.
So this is Carol. Caleb also has his hand raised. My question, thank you so much. I really appreciate your sharing your love of Desansanim Sungsan, Zen Master Sungsan chanting and adding that in. That touches my heart, and I thank you for that. Maybe I wasn't listening properly. Maybe I didn't listen and misheard what you said. I thought you said something about changing a word in the Heart Sutra to delusion.
Yes.
I don't understand that.
Maybe the word hasn't gotten around as much as it should have. Someone objected to the use of perverted, far away from every perverted view. Remember that in the Heart Sutra?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
Again, the Chinese there says inverted, like upside down, topsy-turvy.
Okay.
And so perverted it got the verted right anyway. And maybe we should have said, just translate it literally, far away from every inverted view.
Inverted, yeah. Inverted is what I think SFCC uses. I'm not sure. So, yeah.
But we decided deluded. So this is the second time we've decided on deluded as an alternate translation. Yes?
I just want to add, this is the school, not Kansas Zen Center.
Oh, this is the school. This is not Kansas Zen Center. This is the Worldwide Quantum School of Zen.
So what does it say in the chant book? I just looked up the chant book right now, but I forgot what it said.
Far away from every perverted view.
It says perverted, huh? Okay.
We changed the online chant book. Our online chanting book says deluded now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's been changed. I thought the question was, what did it used to say?
Yeah, right, yes.
Okay. All right. So it's diluted now. Also, as I think I mentioned, the second great vow used to be, the word was diluted.
Right.
I'm sorry, the word was passions. Passions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. And the objection was, well, we should be passionate about Zen practice. Let's not cut through that one. And so we had a committee meeting. I remember I was part of that committee. It was 1992, and we changed it then to diluted.
Thank you.
Sure. So don't keep any delusions.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Then, Master, I had a question on how do we cultivate this don't know mind in everyday life?
Yeah. So everyday life, every day is filled with about how many moments or experiences would you say? You know, if you could quantify them. Yeah, maybe almost uncountable, huh? Yeah. Yeah, quite a few. Try to observe that, though, for, say, 2 minutes. Now, how many distinct moments of experience, do you have in even a few minutes? And do we ever give them any thought at all? Or do they just churn on through this endless flow of delusion, mostly? So the first step is to observe, our moments of experience. Really try to perceive them, to be aware of them. And then it's possible to do something about our delusions. Now, many moments that we have during the day are practical and necessary, so I'm not saying eliminate all consciousness except for don't know. But you could start with just observing how many moments of actual experience should rather be characterized by I don't know. That is, especially when we're making things up. Usually we make things up to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. That's maybe the most common form of making. So you could start with that. How often do we want to look better in our own eyes? Revising what actually happened. And there are other experiences analogous to that. But that may be a good place to start. So if you have a formal practice, with don't know, breathing in 3 seconds, what am I? Breathing out 7 seconds, don't know. As Zen Master Sung San used to teach it, another favorite memory I have of his exhaling for 7 seconds, don't know. And you felt it was really coming from his belly, coming from his center. So, let that come from your center. Don't think don't know. If it comes from your center, you be calm, don't know. So that would be a good way of working on replacing these very unprofound moments of making ourselves feel better about ourselves, especially. In other words, making excuses, with some real cognition. So true cognition, true understanding begins with, as Socrates said, kind of misquoted by Zen Master Sung San in Compass of Zen, I think page 64, I had to look it up once. Socrates, he said, Socrates said, I don't understand anything, but I do understand this don't know. It's not quite that, as he's quoted by Plato in the Apology, but it is similar to that. He didn't say, I understand this don't know, it's simply, I understand that I don't know. So Socrates would have made a great Zen master, actually. Mostly he taught by asking questions and engaging in dialogue and conversation. If you haven't read the Apology recently, or perhaps not at all, it's really worth it. This is the speech that he made in defense against the charges of impiety and not believing in the gods. And it's quite a speech. And then it's followed by a couple of more dialogues where he's actually drinking the hemlock. And that's worth reading too. So I see we've come to the magic moment of 11:30. So thank you all very much. And I think there are some announcements.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Stan. We should turn the recording off.
Should be stopped at this point, yeah.